I think you said people are conditioned to think. I think people are conditioned not to think anymore. They're conditioned to do exactly what they're told.
Yeah.
By their news station, by their politician. You know, people don't want to think for themselves anymore.
Well, they're conditioned at work. Think about if you have a job. The majority of people in this country have a job where you have a boss. The bosses are a very small minority. The majority of people work for that boss. If you work for a corporation, they have very strict rules that they'd like you to follow. There's behavior rules, there's language rules, there's dress rules, there's, you know, rules about the time you're supposed to be there and the amount of work you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to take home and what's required of you. People are conditioned to have someone tell them what they can and can't do. And then they get off on Friday and they can't wait to get drunk. And that's part of why they want to get drunk, is they want to escape. They want to escape this grind of a world. A person who can become autonomous, a person who can have their own job where it's their business or it's their product that they're selling or their art that they're selling or there's something where you can be self-sufficient, that is the biggest freedom that a person can have in this culture. And most people don't have that freedom. So most people are conditioned to have someone lay the rules out for them, tell them when they're supposed to be there, tell them what they get when they work for an hour. That most people don't have the ability to just think for themselves. It's been taken away from them because they want to make a living.
Yeah, then you get into student loans.
Well, that's the craziest one, right? Because you can't even get rid of those.
Right? Every other right
every other loan. Yeah, you can go bankrupt.
You can bankrupt.
Yeah.
Except for
student loans. I know of people that are getting Social Security docked. Their Social Security money is being docked because they owe student loans. So you're at the finish line. It's the end of your life. And you owe money for loans that you took out when you were 18. And now you're 65. That's a rough way to leave this life. It's a rough, and the amount of interest based on it. I was reading about this woman who took out $150,000 in student loans, and now she owes $250,000 because of all the interest and all the time.
Yeah, and how much over the course of that loan? What are you paying? Like
Right.
7 figures for sure, right? Off of
Crazy. I mean, it's a fucking business. And it's also, for many people, something that they're not going to use for whatever occupation they choose. I mean, maybe it will help them get a job if it shows that they have a bachelor's in this or a master's in that. But there's a large amount of people out there that are out there working in a field that is not even their field of study in college. So they have this student loan that didn't even apply to what they wound up doing for a living, and then they have to pay it off forever. And it's subsidized by the government. So it's an extraordinarily expensive endeavor. And you're making this choice when you're 18. You don't know what the fuck you're doing.
No.
You have zero idea. It's the most vulnerable time in your life before your frontal lobe forms. You're not even 25 years old, and you're making these life decisions that will affect you forever.
But it's not pushed. It's shame. You're shamed almost if you don't go to college, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's never pushed like, hey, go learn a technical skill.
Right.
Where you can do a year of apprenticeship or college or study and then go make 6 figures in a job.
One of the biggest times in my life where I felt like a loser was right out of high school because I took a year off. And I remember just telling people that I was going to take a year off. And they're like,
how could you?